Welcome back, or welcome, depending on if it's your first time here or not. My name is Tobacco, and today we're going to be talking about something special, girl. Which would be my first time smoking marijuana in the 7th grade around 2020. Now, I didn't know much about weed at the time other than the fact that it got you high and most people smoked it. However, little me thought I was an expert. I had seen the real cost ads on TV, I had seen it depicted in movies, and most importantly, it was cool. I thought it was cool. And I wanted to get my hands on some to experience something I quite literally could not experience without this substance, you know what I'm saying? Which at the time, I thought this was going to be like an out-of-body experience or something cool like that, because that's how YouTubers I watched at the time described it. I was hyped that I was about to get my hands on some of this, and I was just hyped that I might be able to find some. Needless to say, I was sold a lie. That's not how my first time was. However, I will tell you what it was. It was crazy. There will never be anything crazier than the first time you experience weed, or just in general, your first mind-altering substance that you do. Now, to tell you this story, I need to introduce you to a little friend of mine. We'll call him Serious for the sake of this video, not because he was a super serious guy, but because that was our nickname for him in middle school, after our Japanese teacher said his name wrong once. I'm not even joking, that's why that was his nickname. Sirius was a friend that I would frequently vape with. I'd go over to his house and we would chill and smoke, maybe listen to some hyper pop because that's what was popular at the time. Now, I had one goal in mind when going to Sirius's house. A lot of the time, it was just to steal his almost empty vapes, because they were just all over the ground from his older brother that he shared a room with. Now that you have a picture of who this guy was, I was surrounding myself with, and the type of person I was at the time, we can get more into this story. Before I do that, I am way too sober. I'm going to hit the yard shaman. I appreciate you guys waiting on me. We'll get back to the story. Now, this fateful day all starts at school, funnily enough. I met Sirius through one of my other friends. We all played Call of Duty together at the time. And listen, guys, we had the most janky system of communicating, where we all used to have our school iPads, right? And we had iPads for school, and we could communicate because we all had school emails. So we all got on our school iPads and used Google Meet to talk to each other because none of us had microphones. We were all too broke for that shit. It was a grand old time. Now, up until this point, I had never actually met Sirius in person. I had known him for like a week. This was way before we ever hung out like that. I had just known this man for like a week, and we hadn't hung out like that yet. Now, on this particular day, I decided to use a different exit to get out of school. I wanted to go out a different door so I could go to my aunt's house this particular day. I didn't want to get on the bus. I didn't want to go back home. So I was heading out this door, and that's when I saw Sirius at his locker. I was hyped to finally see bro in real life. I dapped him up for the first time the second I saw him. So started the tradition. Is I stopped by his locker every single day after school after that, and I dabbed bro up. That was a tradition I'll never forget. It was so awesome, and I miss it to this very day. Now, when I saw Sirius, I was on some, hey, bro, what you doing? How's your day been? I wanted to chit-chat with bro, and he was trying to get the fuck out of that building. He was not trying to be there. If there was one thing about this guy, it was that he hated school with a passion. So he was just like, it's been good, bro, but I'm trying to get out of here. So would you just want to hop on the bus with me and go back to my house and hang out? Now, I'll admit, I was a little hesitant at the time. I thought the bus driver would crucify me if he found out that I wasn't supposed to be there. So I was like, Serious, what about the bus driver, man? Like, he's going to catch me, he's going to throw me off the bus, and then how am I going to get home, man? Like, what am I going to do here? And he just had this blank stare. He looked at me and he said, man, my bus driver doesn't give one singular fuck. And hearing this was all the evidence I needed. And honestly, it was just like Yeah, I'm down to hang out. Let's go. And we get on that bus. We see his cousin that I've never seen before in my life. I dap bro up because that's my homie-in-law. He's my homie's homie, my homie's cousin. He's my homie-in-law. I dap bro up. But I see his cousin. I dab him up. We get on that bus. Not no 30 minutes later, we're at the homie's crib. Now, there was a couple things I noticed upon entering this humble abode, this humble 2-story townhouse across the street from a nursing home, and there was stuff everywhere. And I don't mean like trash, but just like useless items and furniture. They lived in a hoarder house, that was for sure. The second thing I noticed was there was 2 little girls running around just unsupervised in this huge mess. But I wholeheartedly did not give one fuck because we were going up to his room immediately, and that's just what we did. Now, Sirius's room was a little different than the rest of the house, and that was because there actually was a lot of trash in his room. It was like a sea of trash, and the only thing cleared off was his bed and like the Xbox, because he really loved his Xbox. That's a whole different story. That was like the boat, his bed was like the boat, salvation in the sea of absolute stinky garbage. I got in there and it was off-putting. However, he said, sorry about the trash, man. My older brother sleeps in here too. He's a little messy. So I kind of understood that. I'm a little messy sometimes too. And I was like, don't worry, man. My room gets pretty bad too. But even though my room had never been that bad before, even in my head, I was surprised at the least to see the mess, man. In this mess, there was 2 things that really stood out to me, and that was the fact that they had a really old telephone in there. I mean, like prehistoric shit, 1920s type fucking telephone in this room. And I also saw this like My Chemical Romance vinyl, and it was like a collector's edition or something, because I just remember the man himself, Gerard Way, on the vinyl. And I guess just remember these items because they are very important for later, because I'll save that for later. I'll tell you why these are important later. But once we get into bro's room and settled on the bed, he turned on the Xbox and everything. He handed me the controller. He asked if I want to play anything. My silly ass had an idea immediately. And that was, hey, why don't I sign into my account here and I download one of the Lego games I have. Now, if there's something about me, it's that I own every single Lego game, and I still do to this day. I love Lego games. It's a weird brag, but I love those kind of games, and it's pretty much my go-to, right? So anyways, I tell my homie, I'm like, would you want to play Lego Marvel Superheroes? And he was like, dude, fuck yes. You know what would make this experience better? Some weed. So he stands up, and out of his dresser, he pulls out the smallest amount of weed I've ever seen in my life. It was like a little dime bag. I'm not even kidding. This shit was like, it was not a lot of weed. But that doesn't matter. He grabs his older brother's one-hitter that was also in this drawer. I had no clue what a one-hitter was or what to expect from weed because I had never smoked weed before. So I wanted to ask all these questions, but before a single question came out of my mouth, I was just like, hell yeah, dude, I've smoked before. I had not done this in my life, and I was just lying to this man. And that was blatantly obvious whenever I got high. But, I'm like, hell yes, I didn't want to backpedal. I was just like, yeah, I smoke all the time. So Bro Tato Chip here, he packs us a little into the one-hitter, and he asks me if I'm ready. And I couldn't have been more ready in the moment. I started hitting that thing. He repacked it maybe 5 times. Each time I took a hit, I was coughing up a lung. However, I wasn't really feeling anything at first. And I told bro that, and I'm not even joking, 5 minutes after I said that dumb shit, I felt that kick in. And it kicked harder than a crack baby in its mother's womb. Now, to this day, it's the only high I've had like that. I stay up thinking about it sometimes because it was a great experience. Now, this high had me feeling like I was the size of a baby. It had me feeling like the room was distorted around me, like the room around me was huge. And it had my body completely numb. And all of this was very enjoyable. I forgot all about Lego Marvel Superheroes. Now, I kind of just talked to Sirius throughout this high. I can't remember what all we talked about or what we would even talk about at the time. But, we talked until about 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. And the entire time I was staring at his old-ass phone on the wall from the Great Depression and his My Chemical Romance vinyl. And that's why those were important, because I was just staring at him the entire time. I was like hyper-focused on him for some reason. And to this day, I couldn't tell you why. They were just standing out to me, but then they were really cool. And they stick out in my head to this day. Now, we had school tomorrow at this point, and this was not something going through my head at the time. I checked my phone, and it was my curfew. So I told him that I was going to take off and walk home because I didn't want my mom to see me as fucked up as I was. I walked home, and it took me like 45 minutes to get there. And let me tell you, fellas, that was the longest 45 minutes of my life, because I knew I could not explain to a cop why my eyes were the color of the sun times 12 and why I wasn't walking in a straight line to save my life. And I don't think any officer would believe me in that state. So I was having this like anxiety attack all the way home, and reaching that door, that was the most relieving thing in the entire world. My mom used to leave this key under this gnome we had outside. Well, it wasn't a gnome, but it was like a bulldog-shaped gnome, we kept that just like on the front porch, I guess. And I took that key, I get inside, surprise, surprise, nobody's fucking home, bro. Not a single person's home. The next morning, my mom asked me where I was the day before, and I told her that I went to my buddies. I let the time pass me by, and she told me I didn't have a curfew anymore. I don't know why I was worried. She just told me that if I had somewhere to be, just tell her about it, let me know I'm gone, right? Or let her know I'm gone. In this moment, I was so hyped. I felt like a badass. This was all I ever wanted. This is all I wanted the rest of my life to be like, because it was genuinely so fucking fun. I miss these days, but unfortunately, addiction does not stay that fun forever. Don't get me wrong, I still get high and I still have fun, but it will never be the same as when it was fresh and new in your brain, when it was the beginning. Anyways, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this. This is going to wrap up the story. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a big old thumbs up, as well as hitting that pretty little subscribe button, because I plan on making so much more of these videos. And if you enjoy these types of videos, you'll love what I put out. If you're late to this video, share it with a friend and comment your first experience with weed if you have one, because I'd love to hear your experiences too. That's going to do it for now, folks. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. You are awesome for that. I love you. Mwah. Have a good day. Great night, good evening, wherever. I don't know. Goodbye.